Well, good morning. This is Ian R. Crane. It's the morning of Wednesday, 17th of January 2018, and I'm here at Miston Springs Protection Camp in North Nottinghamshire, right on the borders of North Nottinghamshire, South Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire. And this morning it is boracic lint. No, that's skin, isn't it? It is brass monkeys. It is extremely cold, and the wind has a real bite to it. I don't know if you can see, but we got a bit of snow on the ground, but it could be worse. We could have woken up in a foot of snow, but that isn't the case. But fortunately, I think the wind has helped keep the snow away. So right now it's actually quite a bright morning, but more snow is forecast. So first of all, let me thank those people who have contributed to the startup costs of Miston Springs Protection Camp, and obviously we're in the process of rapidly trying to winterize to make sure that everyone here at least has sufficient resources to stay warm and stay dry. And if you would like to contribute, then please do so through the Fracking Nightmare website, www.frackingnightmare.com. And over in the top left-hand side of the page, you'll see what to do. And thank you very much indeed. And I'll be dropping a line, obviously, towards the end of the week to all those people that have helped us. Meanwhile, it is day 70. It is exactly 10 weeks now since Barclays Bank, trading as Third Energy, submitted their application to FRAC at Kirkby Misperton. That application was submitted to the Minister of State, Secretary of State rather, not the Minister of State, the Secretary of State, Greg Clark, who's Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. And we have speculated over the last 10 weeks as to why he has been so hesitant to sign this off. And I think there's a multitude of reasons, obviously not least that he's very well aware that it's a poison chalice. It's a political grenade, and he certainly doesn't want to be the one holding it when a signature is finally put on the paper. And one has to wonder whether he's going to try and delegate this to Claire Perry, his new Minister of State for Energy. You know, she's a new kid on the block, so you know, just put your moniker here, Claire. Don't worry about it. You know, it'll be fine, and you know, get him off the hook. But it won't, because ultimately it is Greg Clark, Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, that has the responsibility for this. Also, there is some speculation that Greg Clark may have been aware of the relationship between Carillion and Third Energy after Carillion published their profits warning in the middle of last year, and now of course Carillion has collapsed. And you know, this is a classic example of rampant corporatism, where those running the businesses are not interested in the well-being of the business. They are simply milking it for personal gain. And we see this with Persimmon, you know, with the £130 million bonus paid to the chief executive. We see this with INEOS, with Jim Ratcliffe fleecing £5.5 billion from INEOS since he's established it 20 odd years ago. Now, I for one am all for senior executives being well rewarded. You know, they are committed in many cases to the company, but unfortunately that is no longer a commitment to the well-being of the company, no longer a commitment to the social responsibility that that company has. It is a commitment to their own greed, because that is what is driving chief executives and other senior executives in the corporatocracy that exists in this country today. You know, I make no bones about it, I am a capitalist, but I believe in social responsibility for capitalism, and that's to some extent, you know, what we had up until the Reagan-Thatcher years, and then it just went into the Gordon Gekko, greed is good mode, milk it for all you can get, and screw everybody else along the way. And that is exactly what has happened at Carillion. And by the way, there are so many other companies in that situation that, you know, we are heading yet again for another collapse. And, you know, what are we going to do? Hock the country? Oh, that's probably exactly what we're going to do. So we have malfeasance in the corporate world and we have malfeasance in public office. And if Greg Clark does sign off on this, even through any one of his proxies, then based on what he knows now, it will be malfeasance in public office if he does sign it off. And of course, one of the links between Carillion and Third Energy, or Barclays Bank trading as Third Energy, is the fact that Keith Cochrane, as chief executive of Carillion, was appointed as a non-executive director of Third Energy in September of last year. So, you know, this is all crooks getting in it together. You know, maybe they wanted Cochrane because clearly he had a track record of running businesses that were in deep doo-doo. And you know, he's joined another company that's in deep doo-doo. And of course, we still have no accounts published by Third Energy. So they are now 4 months late in publishing their accounts for 2016. So either this is appalling management or they have something to hide. And I would suggest it's a combination of the two. You know, as I reported yesterday, Third Energy have taken a further 7.5 million loan, but this is simply, you know, moving noughts around on a computer screen because it's Barclays Bank lending Barclays Bank, trading as Third Energy, 7.5 million to pay off the most pressing of their debts. And of course they have enormous liabilities. It's a company that its onshore and its offshore business is over 90 million in the hole, with no possibility of recovering that anytime soon. So, you know, yet again, the headlines yesterday were, you know, with the collapse of Carillion, was taxpayer picks up the bill. Well, that's going to be exactly the same when Third Energy collapses, because Barclays Bank will just say, actually, you know, we've just collapsed that particular entity. Nothing really to do with Barclays Bank. We're hiding behind the boiler rooms where the company is registered in the Caymans. And it will be the taxpayer that picks up the liability. So it's all focus obviously on Kirby Misperton right now, and very much the focus is on Greg Clark. So please keep the pressure on, encourage other people to keep the pressure on. Greg Clark should pull the plug on the attempt to frack at Kirby Misperton, and should make it very, very clear all the reasons why it is that he's pulling the plug. And that will at least set a baseline for future companies. But the reality is that the corporatocracy controls, it seems, the puppets in Westminster, and they will simply do what the corporatocracy bids them to do. Here at Miston Springs, just half a mile up the road, we have iGas, who accepted a planning condition that if they hadn't completed the construction work by the end of January 2018, they would cease work until the 1st of September, because their site here adjoins an area of special scientific interest. It's an SSSI, a site of special scientific interest. And this in particular is because of the rare birds that breed here, and particularly owls. Yet, in another example of mission creep, where the companies simply accept the conditions at the time because that's what they have to do, and in the full knowledge that at some future date they will simply seek to get a waiver on those particular conditions. And that's what they're doing here. They are simply trying to ride roughshod over the planning conditions that were set by the Planning Committee of Nottinghamshire County Council. But this attempt to override this condition, to keep working through the bird breeding season, doesn't go back to the Planning Committee, it goes to the planning officer. And there is still one more day in which to get in your objections, and please email. The email address of the person to send to is development.manager@notscc.gov.uk. And I'll put that link in the comments under this video. So that's development.manager@notscc, that's double T, N-O-T-T-S, cc.gov.uk. And let the planning officer know fine well how you feel about iGas looking to ride roughshod over a planning condition that was set by an elected planning committee, and they're looking to ride it over by simply getting a planning officer to sign it off. Now, Notts County Council has changed hands, so iGas obviously thinking, well, this is a Tory council, of course we can ride roughshod over it. So, you know, yet again, the corporatocracy doing whatever the hell it thinks it can. And you know, this coincides with a new study which has been summarised in the current edition of National Geographic, and the article is titled "Oil and Gas Industry Causing Birds to Have Fewer Chicks." Well, you know, as we know, this industry has so much impact on the wider ecology, all of which is denied, of course, by the industry. But you know, at what point do we say enough? And if that in of itself wasn't enough, then we have the Oil and Gas Authority, which we know is a private limited company, and the only shareholder of this private limited company is the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. So the only shareholder of the Oil and Gas Authority is Greg Clark. So once again, everything falls down to Greg Clark. So now, the Oil and Gas Authority, headed up by Dr. Andy Samuel, who, it seems, literally does the bidding of the Oil and Gas Authority, which really isn't surprising, considering that the Oil and Gas Authority state quite categorically that their raison d'etre, their primary motivation, is to maximise the recovery of hydrocarbons from the UK. So no real surprise that that's their priority, and to hell with everything else. Well, thanks to some outstanding research by Ben Dean, he's established that the Oil and Gas Authority has seriously overstepped the mark, excuse me, by approving unilaterally the amendment of 10 petroleum exploration and development licenses to the production phase. Now, the only way in which this can happen is for the company concerned to submit a business development plan to explain how it is that they're going to develop the resources and how it's going to affect the area that they're targeting. Well, in these 10 cases, they haven't done that. But the Oil and Gas Authority says, well, you know, that's just a mere detail. We'll upgrade these areas from exploration to production without any consultation with the local community whatsoever. So once again, this is malfeasance in public office. And you know, it is not possible to believe that the Secretary of State is not aware of this. So Greg Clark or his predecessors have signed off on this, but Dr. Andy Samuel, who is ostensibly a public servant, he's part of the civil service, and we know that because the Oil and Gas Authority tried to set salary ranges outside of the agreed civil service bands, but was slapped down because the civil service pay grades apply to the Oil and Gas Authority. So Dr. Andy Samuel is a civil servant. So he has a responsibility to uphold the legislation, the guidelines that are in place to prevent such rampant corporate maladministration of the ecology of this country. So there are so many reasons why Greg Clark actually needs to be held to account, ideally in the courts, and ultimately that may come, especially if he does sign off on Barclays Bank's application to frack at Kirby Misperton, because the likelihood is that it's all going to go belly up very, very quickly. So here we are, 10 weeks after the application was submitted. We completed 2017, the 5th frack-free year in the UK since the moratorium was lifted in December 2012, and the likelihood is that you know, Quadrilla obviously are still looking to be able to frack at Preston New Road, and you know, Preston New Road is scrutinised just as much as Kirby Misperton. and there will be a multitude of reasons why that frack should not be signed off just as much as there is the frack at Kirby Misperton. So right now my fingers are starting to lose any sense of feeling, so I think there's time to call it a day. The sun's actually coming up, so who knows, maybe we'll see a degree or two rise in the temperature, but this biting wind that's coming in unfortunately is forecast to bring in some more of the white stuff. But hey, nothing we can't handle. This is my 4th winter on a protection camp out of the last 5. That's Barton Moss in 2014, Crawberry Hill in 2015, and we had a break in 2016, and then Kirby Misperton last year, and here now at Misson Springs. And you know what? It doesn't matter to me whether I spend the next 5 years on a camp, although I'd much rather go and play golf again. But meanwhile, this is a priority. We have to shut this abomination down in the UK, and the only way we can do that is collectively, for everyone to do whatever it is they feel they can do to help shut this industry down once and for all, and force a change of government agenda, and who knows, maybe even a change of government. But we'll see how things unfold. Thanks again for joining me today. Please do get off those emails or letters to Greg Clark or to the planning officer at Notts, Nottinghamshire County Council, because this is absolutely crucial at this particular juncture. So have a great day and stay warm, and I'll catch you tomorrow at 8:30.